Hello everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Monteverde. I'm Verdi, and today I'll be expanding the city by building a river flowing down from the mountains. Since the city is located in the Caribbean, a very rainy, tropical region, this will only be the first of many rivers and streams that will be on the island. But it is probably going to be the most important one, since it will flow right through the city center, which I built in the last episode, and if you want to see how, you can check it out via the link at the top of the screen. Anyway, let's get to the build. I started by expanding the street to a boulevard using the road builder mode and preparing some space for the river. In the city, the river will be straightened and put in between two streets with quays, which is quite a common way of controlling rivers in cities. If it's a good thing is however up for debate. I built the quays out of horizontal pillars, the most versatile asset in the game, since I didn't quite like how the vanilla quays look, and you can't place decals on them, but you can on horizontal pillars. At first, I tried to do it with Move It, but it was super hard and crashed the game occasionally, which is pretty annoying since it takes like 10 minutes to launch the game, with a chance of crashing while loading. Later, I started using the window with location and stuff in the top left corner. I have no idea which mod adds it, but it's perfect for things like this. At the mouth of the river, I also reinforced the seashore with rocks, because there is gonna be a port there and you probably don't want to have beaches next to that. The river might also experience pretty high water flows during storms, so without reinforcing the shores, you would also risk erosion. After that was done, I started with the river itself by doing some grading to create the river basin. I initially wanted to have the river waterless, and just use the water surfaces, but I tested it and it didn't turn out like I wanted to, so I ended up placing a water source at the top. To detail the river, I made some bumps in the riverbed and covered everything with a riverbed surface. Then I added a lot of foliage both on the bumps and into the water, and a lot of rocks. Finally, to finish it off and create the illusion of fast flowing water, I added some seafoam decals. After completing the main part of the river, I built a small waterfall and something that was supposed to be a tiny pond, but turned out to look more like just a bit wider part of the stream. The plan was to make multiple fake waterless streams, all converging into this pond, but I forgot to build them and went on to expanding the city, so I'll finish it in the end of the video. Now that the river is finished, at least for now, we can expand the city by placing a line of buildings along the river's not yet built up side and finishing some blocks I left unfinished in the first episode. First, I started by pre-planning the grid for future expansion, but I'll probably call a mulligan on that, since I don't like how the two separate grids I build here interact with each other, and since in this part of the city I want to transition into low density, which would probably be built in less orderly manner. But right now, let's finally place some buildings. It's not gonna be much, just like a line along the river to somewhat enclose it. But it will definitely help a bit with filling in the whole city, which will be pretty boring to do in large chunks, because it can get really tedious and repetitive. So from now on, I'll make a small contribution to the general city fabric in every episode, no matter what the topic of that episode is. And doing that, I'll be able to do some interesting builds for almost every video, and still make some progress in the more generic parts. Now, let's get to the other side of the river, where last time I left this entire block empty. I placed a post office there cause post service was the number one thing people were complaining about. So, that would be enough for placing buildings today. Let's detail everything. You know the drill. Just like in the first episode, I started with surfaces and decals, and continued with placing power lines everywhere, sometimes connecting them to buildings, and finished by placing my own street lighting. But this time, I'm not gonna bother you with it that much, since it's like an hour-long clip of my super twitchy playstyle. I definitely need to learn how to play without turning the camera every second. Now that we have the detailing out of the way, let's finally focus on the river sources, as promised in the first part of the video. To build them, I used the same techniques as for the larger part of the river. I started with terraforming, which in this scale was probably pointless. Then I added the riverbed surface, rocks, foliage, and finally, to top it off and create the illusion of water, I added the seafoam decals. I also replanted the forest around and made it denser than ever before. And voila, it's done. Overall, I think the river turned out pretty well. Definitely better than I expected. And that would be for this episode all. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, you can give it a like and subscribe to not miss the next one, where I'll be building the island's first connection to the outside world, a port. But until then, take care and enjoy the cinematics. Bye bye.